So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Michael Simkin. I am a representative of the organization For the Refugees. I'm here with my colleague, Marc-André Séguin and Christina Rogov. Three of us wear two hats, really. We represent the Snowden refugees in their legal proceedings in Canada to immigrate to Canada. We also, Mark and myself, created For the Refugees with the goal of sponsoring the Snowden families in their immigration to Canada. We're here for two reasons in Hong Kong, but speaking to you today specifically. The first, we were really on a mission to corroborate some reports that we had been hearing about Hong Kong police coercing false statements against our clients. So that's the main impetus for our being here in Hong Kong this week. But we're also here to support our clients, the families, as they live through the experience of the appeals of their asylum claims, which were refused by Hong Kong, their claims to Hong Kong. So those are the two main reasons, and we're going to give you an update on both of those things. But just to step back a little bit, I think it's also important to understand that when we first created For the Refugees, it was really a vehicle to privately sponsor families, no expense to the taxpayer. The idea was to raise a little bit of money to help them resettle, get some winter clothing, some hockey sticks, because we really, in our minds, thought that this was a slam dunk case, a clear situation of people with legitimate asylum claims from their home countries of Sri Lanka and the Philippines. So we never really expected to be here a year later, absolutely burning through the donations that we receive, going back and forth to Hong Kong, following up on all of these different reports of institutional failures to protect our clients, and getting involved in increasingly tooth and nail battles within the Hong Kong legal system to ensure that they succeed in their asylum claims, something which fewer than 1% of asylum claimants succeed in doing. So making sure that they get the best legal defense they can. So that's sort of the context and the background of where we are today. With respect to the two issues specifically that we've come here this week for, the Hong Kong Police Department situation actually goes back to 2016. At the end of 2016, there were allegations that Sri Lankan CID operatives had come to Hong Kong, were looking for our clients, specifically the Sri Lankan clients, were looking for them, and this was being talked about within the Sri Lankan community. Why? Because the CID are extremely reported by the UN for use of torture and violence, and how they were able to operate in Hong Kong with such impunity was frankly quite shocking. This was brought to the police. They said go to immigration said go to the police, and it wasn't until actually April 2017 when our clients were finally allowed to file a report, make statements about these Sri Lankan CID operatives in Hong Kong. Since then, and by the way, to this day, the Hong Kong Police Department has not investigated those allegations. It would be a simple matter, right? It's a matter of record. Who came into the country at the end of 2016? It should be in the immigration records. This isn't a difficult thing to look up. But they haven't. They've refused to investigate it. Instead, what we now have are reports that in the summer of 2017, Hong Kong police arbitrarily detained and intimidated witnesses of these incursions in order to coerce false statements that contradict the evidence presented, the version of events presented by other acquaintances of our clients. So this is where we're at. This is a very shocking piece of information for us. It's hard to reconcile an institution that's supposed to be protecting people actively working to cause extreme prejudice to their cases. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that, as we've mentioned in previous press conferences, The asylum claims of the families were all rejected within a week of each other last spring. And since then, Vanessa, for example, has already gone before the Torture Claim Appeals Board. She's awaiting a decision in her appeal any day now. This week, though, Supun and Nadeeka were before the Torture Claim Appeals Board, and so we were there to observe. Marc-André was able to observe and see how things work in ordinarily closed hearings, right? So we're here to be showing support. We're not Hong Kong barristers. We're not able to make any representations on behalf of our clients, but obviously we're extremely concerned and very interested in what the outcome of these appeals are, because if our clients are deported to their home countries, their claims in Canada are moot. Their immigration to Canada is irrelevant. I should also mention that later this spring, Ajith's appeal hearing will also be heard before the TCAB. So there's really no other way to put it other than Hong Kong has clearly shown a willingness to play very dirty when it comes to dealing with these very vulnerable asylum seekers. And it's a tragedy. And it's a tragedy that people need to speak up about. We need to start seeing the legal community here in Hong Kong expressing concern about the rule of law in this territory. This is apparently an egregious affront to the rule of law. We also need to start hearing Canada recognizing what's going on here and stepping up and processing the claims that we submitted over a year ago now, and protect the lives of our clients. So as this case continues to go forward, as we continue to have to come back and follow up and lend support to our clients and meet with and engage with different actors and levels of government, the costs just keep on rising. And what we're ultimately asking is for people to start to take action. We can't do this on our own. We need your help. We invite everyday people, contact your elected officials. Go to our website, fortherefugees.com. There's a lot of different ways you can help. Obviously, you can support us financially. It can't hurt. But right now, we need to do the right thing. We need Canada to do the right thing. We'd be happy if Hong Kong would do the right thing. But it's unacceptable to have people who are so vulnerable treated so badly and ultimately risk going back to countries that clearly their lives would be very much in danger. Thank you.
I'd just like to add, Hong Kong police has an obligation, and Hong Kong in general has an obligation to protect the people on its territory. When there are multiple allegations and it becomes a topic of conversation within the Sri Lankan community that the Sri Lankan CID has been cited in Hong Kong trying to locate our clients, an organization that is reputed for the endemic use of torture, and that instead of investigating those allegations, the Hong Kong police instead proceeds to investigate the witnesses. And by the way, not by inviting them to provide a statement, by coercing them to provide a statement, and by guiding that statement in order to push them to say things that are untrue.
Without legal counsel present.
Without legal counsel present, in at least one instance without the presence of an interpreter. The circumstances surrounding the interrogations of these witnesses, who are all part of the chain of evidence of the sightings of the CID, are all the same. They were at CIC in Mataukat, signing in, as they are required to do, on recognizance. They were set aside by immigration officers. They were approached by police officers told that they had to, not that they could, not invited, told that they had to accompany them. They were put into a van. They were brought into the Hong Kong Police Department for questioning, in the absence of counsel, in the absence of interpreters. They had no choice. In some instances, their cell phones were seized without permission. They were told that they were not free to go. In at least one instance, a lawyer of one of the witnesses attempted to contact his client and attempted to intervene. And he was lied to by Hong Kong police, told that the person was unavailable to talk to him. He was denied access to his client. We're talking about an organization that is supposed to protect these people. They are threatening them. It's unacceptable, it's inhumane, it's unfair. And if Hong Kong ever wanted to show the world that the rule of law is eroding in its jurisdiction, it could not do it in a better way. As a Canadian, I'm outraged. I believe that Hong Kong people should be equally outraged. And I hope that Canada is paying attention.
Any questions?
Could you provide a bit more details about your concern about the witnesses being interrogated unfairly and illegally? How many people are we talking about when did this happen? And would it be possible for us to also talk to them?
We're talking about all individuals who were grabbed by the police and brought in for questioning are asylum seekers. We're talking about people who are vulnerable. I'm not at liberty to disclose their identity, other than to say that we have independently verified this testimony. We were able to show, we were able to verify that testimony that was collected and that was collected successfully by Hong Kong police against our clients was testimony that included elements that were demonstrably false and that we were able to prove as being false, including by independent third parties. And it's only fair to say that for some clients who may have turned against, some witnesses who may have turned against our clients, that these statements were actually coerced by Hong Kong police. And for those who had not, Hong Kong police was simply not able to successfully turn them against our clients. But for those witnesses who were not successfully turned, we do have specific accounts of what happened. It included the invitation to mislead the investigation. It included an invitation to leave Hong Kong. And in one instance, it included an invitation by Hong Kong police to actually secure a passport under a false identity in the embassy of their country of origin, and to then move away to Australia where they could try to seek asylum.
So the police offered that?
The police suggested that they do that.
And how many witnesses are we talking about here?
We're talking of anywhere between 4 and 5 witnesses at this point.
So you're
and
saying,
we're trying to collect more evidence.
So you're saying the police is trying to coerce them into basically saying the CID never, excuse me. What was the police trying to coerce them into saying?
Well, I can't speculate on that, but I can say that what we've been hearing is that the police was trying to make them say that essentially, yes, the CID had not been cited, that they had not heard this information, or that they had not heard the information from X person or Y person. Essentially, yes, going after that allegation, but also what that effectively means is also going after our clients by trying to gather evidence to the effect that they had lied to the police.
In terms of, would that investigation jeopardize their appeals at the Torture Claim Appeal Board, or weaken their case for asylum in Hong Kong?
Well, I can't comment on anything that's going on in the Torture Claims Appeal Board, but it's certainly extremely disturbing and obviously damaging to our clients and what they are claiming. It goes directly to the heart of a key component of their reason or their well-founded fear of persecution in Sri Lanka. And it goes to the heart of why these individuals represent a security interest for their countries of origin. And I would even go so far as to say that this attempt by Hong Kong police is actually an act in itself of persecution by Hong Kong towards our clients, in complete violation of its obligations.
Just an update on what's happening with Canada. Wasn't there talk before of expediting the claims? Is that?
We've formulated that request on many occasions to Canada. Canada still has not taken a position to expedite the cases. The processing is currently ongoing. But we continuously are updating the Canadian consulate and the Canadian authorities, and we hope that they are paying attention to what's going on right now, to what we came here to verify this week, and that they will take note of it and do the right thing, because we do fully intend to reiterate our request once again.
You know, what would be really tragic in this situation when Canada is in a position to actually do the right thing would be to take their time, wait, and allow Hong Kong to dispose of the situation for them, so that Canada doesn't need to deal with the political ramifications. But this doesn't need to be a political thing. They could look at the facts of the cases and say, look, these are refugees. They have a right to come here. But by failing to process their claims more quickly, they're essentially killing our clients by delay.
Could you compare usually how long does it take for a claim to be processed by Canada? And is it quite unusual that it's been quite a while, perhaps a year, and nothing has happened? This is unusual.
So actually, private sponsorship applications of refugees processed in Hong Kong by Canada, when we initially submitted the case, had an average processing time of 52 months. The average processing time currently is 31 months. That's still way too long. In normal processing, as my colleague said, would essentially come down to death by delay. That's why, especially the way that the Hong Kong Immigration Department has been trying to expedite the processing of these claims as quickly as they can, it means that we don't have that amount of time. And we've invited Canada to even, not only to expedite the case, but if that was not possible, we've invited Canada in the past to grant a temporary status to our clients for them to come to Canada temporarily while their claim is being processed and while Canada decides whether or not these are refugees. And that would actually come at no cost to the Canadian taxpayer, because our organization could meet all of their basic needs in Canada. We're already meeting all of their basic needs in Hong Kong because their financial assistance has been cut off here. So they're relying entirely on donations that we're raising. And they could continue to rely entirely on these donations in Canada, but at least they wouldn't have to worry about being deported by Hong Kong anymore. And we are confident that after its thorough investigation, its thorough verifications, that Canada would ultimately accept them. This is a slam dunk case.
And earlier, I think, Michael, you were saying if they were deported back to their home country, then their application would be moot. Is it because the application was filed in Hong Kong? So if they leave Hong Kong, their application is thrown out of the door? How does that work? Can they, what I'm asking is, in the worst case scenario, if they were deported back to their home country, can they still push for a refugee visa in Canada?
Not the same type of an application now? Maybe you can explain this in better detail because.
The main issue is that if they are returned to their home countries, they will be grabbed. They will disappear.
But their current asylum claims also extinguish.
No, it doesn't.
Oh.
We would simply not be able to follow up
Right.
on the application at all because they would disappear. They would be at risk, and it's very hard for someone who is in prison, in custody, or even worse, to follow up on an asylum claim.
It would be a bit of a perverse situation anyway, to say that you have to go back to the place you're claiming to be extremely threatened in order to make to follow through with your claim that you'd already initiated after spending 10 years, over 10 years here.
In terms of the paperwork, though, the application would still be valid. It would just be a lot harder to follow up.
It would be impossible to follow up.
And for the appeals, if their appeal is rejected, is there another chance to appeal, or is this the final chance to appeal in Hong Kong?
Well, there is an appellate process in Hong Kong that is extremely perverse and goes against every chance that our clients might have of succeeding, we believe. We don't believe that there are endless appeal procedures here. And that's why we're asking Canada to get them out as quickly as possible. But that would be a great question to ask to the barrister, Mr. Robert Thibault.
Yeah, none of us are barristers here in Hong Kong.
And Mr. Thibault, who, by the way, is currently overseeing legal matters pertaining to our clients as well, was not able to make it today. Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.